This is the final voyage of the USS Simon Lake on its way to the scrapyard in Brownsville, Texas. USS Simon Lake was the lead ship of her class of submarine tenders in the United States Navy, named for Simon Lake, a pioneering designer of early submarines. The ship was laid down on January 7, 1963 by the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, Bremerton, Washington, launched on February 8, 1964. And commissioned on November 7, 1964, with Captain James B. Osborne in command. Simon Lake sailed from Bremerton on January 16, 1965 for Pearl Harbor on her shakedown cruise and returned to Bremerton on February 17th for a 6-week yard available period. On April 16th, it proceeded to Charleston, South Carolina via the Panama Canal. Simon Lake arrived in Charleston on May 1st, 1965, and tended submarines there until July 11, 1966. On that date, she sailed for Holylock, Scotland, where she served as tender for Submarine Squadron 14. In June 1970, she sailed for Bremerton for her first overhaul since commissioning. The tender was in the yard from July 6, 1970 to March of 1971, and while there was also converted to Poseidon missile capability. Simon Lake returned to Charleston on April 3, 1971, and tended submarines there until 19th of November 1972 when she sailed for Rota, Spain. Simon Lake arrived back in Charleston Naval Shipyard in North Charleston, South Carolina, January 1977 for extensive overhaul in one of the 3 dry docks. Simon Lake was the first submarine tender to be stationed at Kings Bay, Georgia in 1979 when the base first opened, and was the first tender on the East Coast that women served on in the Navy. From 1979 to 1985, Simon Lake serviced submarines in King Bay, Georgia. In May 1987, Simon Lake returned to Scotland to again relieve USS Hunley at Holylock, where in 1988 and 1991 she won Battle Efficiency E awards. She remained on station there until the base was closed and all assets withdrawn in 1992. Sailing for Norfolk, Virginia in March of that year, Simon Lake drew to a close 30 years of U.S. Navy presence in Holylock, Scotland. In March 1992, Simon Lake returned to Norfolk to conduct an extensive overhaul. After completion of the overhaul and a visit to Palma, Spain in March of 1993, she arrived at her new home port of La Maddalena, Italy. In March 1998, the ship transited the Suez Canal to the United Arab Emirates, where she supported Operation Southern Watch in the Persian Gulf. In June 1998, she returned to La Maddalena, Italy. Simon Lake departed La Maddalena on May 11, 1999, and crossed the Atlantic from Norfolk, Virginia to be decommissioned. Simon Lake was decommissioned on July 31, 1999, and placed in the mothball fleet in Philadelphia. Beginning in September 2011, Simon Lake underwent the deactivation process in preparation for dismantling. The ship was placed in the James River Reserve Fleet on December 3, 2015, in the care of U.S. Maritime Administration to await recycling. She arrived at Steelcast in Brownsville, Texas for ship recycling on February 27, 2019, today.